Hello everyone, welcome back to Confused Engineers Odyssey. If you have completed our HTML course, then you're already halfway to becoming a web developer. HTML gave us the structure of a web page, and now it's time to make that structure attractive using CSS. This is Chapter 1 of our CSS course, where we'll learn the fundamentals that every web developer must know before moving to advanced concepts. In this chapter, we'll cover what CSS is and why we use it, CSS syntax, and how it works. 3 different ways to add CSS: colors and backgrounds, RGB and hex color systems, CSS selectors, text styling properties, finally CSS units and text formatting. Let's begin. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. Think of HTML as the skeleton of a human body, while CSS is the skin, clothes, and personality. HTML creates the content, whereas CSS controls how that content looks by changing colors, fonts, spacing, layouts, and much more. Together with JavaScript, these 3 technologies form the foundation of modern web development. Every CSS rule has 3 parts. First comes the selector, which chooses the HTML element. Next comes the property, which tells what we want to change. Finally comes the value, which specifies the new style. Remember, every declaration ends with a semicolon, and all declarations are enclosed inside curly braces. There are 3 methods to add CSS. The first is inline CSS, where styles are written directly inside an HTML element. The second is internal CSS, where styles are written inside the style tag within the head section. The third and most recommended method is external CSS, where all styling is written in a separate CSS file and linked to the HTML page. This is the method used in almost all real-world projects because it keeps the code clean and maintainable. The color property changes the foreground color, such as text, icons, and links. The background color property fills the background behind an element. Using these 2 properties effectively can completely change the appearance of a web page. RGB stands for red, green, and blue. Each color channel ranges from 0 to 255. By mixing different values of red, green, and blue, we can generate millions of different colors. For example, RGB 255, 0 represents pure red. Selectors tell CSS exactly which HTML elements should receive a style. The universal selector affects every element. The element selector targets a specific HTML tag. The ID selector is used for one unique element. The class selector can be reused across multiple elements and is the most commonly used selector in web development. An ID should always be unique on a web page. Only one element should have that ID. A class, however, can be applied to multiple elements. Whenever you need the same styling in different places, use a class instead of creating multiple IDs. CSS provides several properties for styling text. Text align controls alignment. Text decoration adds, underlines, or removes them. These simple properties help improve readability and presentation. The font weight property controls how bold or light the text appears. Values usually range from 100 to 900. The font family property changes the typeface. It's always a good practice to specify multiple fonts so the browser can choose the best available option. Pixels, or px, are absolute units. They always remain the same size regardless of the screen. Most websites use font sizes between 14 and 18 pixels because they are comfortable to read. Line height controls the spacing between lines of text, making paragraphs easier to read. Text transform changes the case of text. It can convert text into uppercase, lowercase, capitalize each word, or leave it unchanged. Let's quickly revise what we've learned. CSS styles web pages. We learned CSS syntax. We explored the 3 methods of adding CSS. We understood colors, RGB, hex values, selectors, text properties, fonts, and CSS units. These concepts form the foundation for everything you'll build in CSS. Congratulations on completing Chapter 1 of the CSS course. In the next chapter, we'll explore the CSS box model, where you'll learn about margin, padding, borders, and how every web page is actually structured behind the scenes. If you found this lesson helpful, save this post, share it with your friends, and follow Confused Engineers Odyssey so you don't miss the remaining chapters. I'll see you in Chapter 2. Happy coding!